Hello, everyone. I am Vijay Narayan, head of the MLEU business unit at Cognizant. I am joined here today with Vibha Rustagi, our global practice head of IoT. And today we are recording a special episode about the intersection of AI, IoT, and leadership. Thank you for joining me, Vibha.
Thank you, Vijay. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to jump right in, Vibha, with a fact and a very bold assumption. I don't know whether you realize it, but the fact is, at the time of this recording, we are just days away from the third anniversary of ChatGPT's launch, and that was on November 30, 2022. I don't know how you feel about that.
I mean, that's wild to think it's been 3 years. And, wow, what a leap we've made between, humans and machines. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, and now here's the assumption.
Mm.
Despite the world of AI possibilities, which have become very real since then, I am sure you're still working with clients on the timeless challenges at the end of the day.
I mean, absolutely, that's true. Look, the challenges that I'm seeing the clients they're facing with AI today or in their work is, of course, there's legacy systems that they have. The data silos still exist. Getting people on board, so really the technology adoption, and of course scalability. But for the clients, that are addressing these with AI and Gen AI, I mean, it's completely changing the game.
I completely agree, and I see it the same way. The clients who are able to make the leap, they are differentiating. They are becoming leaders in the market. So let's run through a few numbers to set the stage on the impact we are seeing from our customers' overall AI journey. The numbers which are getting reported are 40% reduction in time to market, up to 50% increase in productivity, 90% increase in CSAT. These are not trivial numbers.
Yes, and they're adding massive savings. We're seeing this from, I would say, optimization of energy. We're looking at supply chain, logistics, scrap yield. I mean, the list just goes on. I like to always share examples. I'll share an example of a large American pharma client. They were faced with a consistent problem when their critical machines broke down at very odd hours. So this involved a lot of troubleshooting, hunting for data across several systems, and hunting for the experts that understood this data. And what we found is that each technician they spent about, I would say, about 2 hours a day just looking for this data. And in a typical plant, there's about, I think, about 10 or so technicians, and this translates to, do the math, 4,000 hours annually. So just interacting with IT systems. And what we did, what Cognizant did there is we developed a RAG solution with contextualized insights, and that was at the fingertips of the users. And so this reduced the time to market from 4,000 hours to 400 hours. I mean, this is the kind of productivity impact that AI is bringing. So the opportunity with AI is indeed extraordinary. It's also one that demands the right technology partners with proven capabilities so that you can turn the potential into reality.
Yeah, very well said. If it's done well, it's a dream come true because the way I think about AI is it's not about doing the same business better, faster, cheaper. It's about reimagining the process because with the infinite possibilities, you could actually redo the complete way, reimagine the complete way you actually do certain things. So let's start off, Vibha, with the first issue which you mentioned, which is legacy modernization. Can you expand a bit on that?
In manufacturing, especially, right? We've seen modernization is foundational to enabling AI ready infrastructure. Now, legacy modernization is not an option. We're seeing that, it's a necessity today to survive for our clients. And without that strong base, I mean, it's impossible to unlock the speed, agility that we speak about, and definitely the scale. So, in fact, recently, Cognizant we accelerated this plant modernization for a global tools manufacturer, right? And what we did is we deployed a combined OT IT team because the client's IT team was struggling to access and understand the factory data. So this team that we had there, they combined the knowledge of the manufacturing processes, of the networking, of the data, IT systems, and so on, and delivered the full IT OT reference architecture that is scalable across multiple sites. So, this integrated approach is what's breaking down the silos, enabling rapid transformation, assessments, upgrades, and so on. This demonstrates that really OT IT collaboration is critical for the success of digital transformation. And then, once this was done, rolling out AI became sort of a logical extension. And this all leads to combined substantial savings across the board.
So, a follow-on question then, how can companies use the latest connected technologies as an accelerator for modernization, and how do they prioritize the efforts so that they are self-funding?
Yeah, so, look, today's technologies, connected technologies, go far beyond sensors or, connected IT/OT systems. We're talking about integrated, powerful ecosystems, about smart devices, embedded systems, secure platforms, cloud platforms, and increasingly, AI-powered tools like Gen AI and agentic AI and edge compute, all working together to transform plant operations. So I'll share an example of a client that's a global HVAC manufacturers that's undergoing a plant modernization, and it's focused on automation. And the client's operations team needed to build a very compelling business case for automation so that they could demonstrate this through simulations. So Cognizant advised implementing digital twins. So we developed a photorealistic 3D model of the entire plant. So we overlaid, actual cells, we overlaid machines and the systems. And we used this simulation and these modeling tools. And then we also ran what if scenarios to visually quantify, what kind of productivity and efficiency gains they can get from this automation. So these Gen AI capabilities in these tools, further enhanced not only that, but also the user experience in these various scenario analysis. So really starting small, scaling quickly, that enables manufacturers to, number one, modernize with confidence. Number two, that they can achieve measurable improvements. And then number three is really ultimately they're driving larger and long-term transformation. From a prioritization standpoint, your second question was, how do we do this from a self-funding? We start with high impact, low complexity use cases. We're solving the pain points like downtime, quality issues, energy efficiency, and so on. So really driving some quick wins and then showing the ability to scale the solution. This helps in defining the priorities. And that's kind of from my standpoint. I'd like to get your thoughts on, while we're talking about IoT and how it retrofits and, how it can deliver fast value, manufacturers we know will ultimately need a modern factory, right, to accomplish big goals like large scale edge computing in factories and so on. So knowing that large scale modernization is ultimately needed to be a leading manufacturer, what in your opinion is required for a successful transformation program? How do you tailor a value story to C-suite stakeholders so they can also see how AI fits their priorities?
Yeah, see, I think the way I think Vibha is C-suites expect AI today, right, from their CEOs. It is not a question about you had to convince them. They want AI to be done because they are seeing other companies do it and be successful in it. I think the question is, how do you prove the value to the C-suite? And that's where I think the question lies as to how do you show the value. And you actually mentioned it well, that the value could be in terms of doing a full-fledged business case and create the ROI. It could be in terms of creating lighthouses and then prove the value, which is that this value is possible. The other thing which I think is very important for success is change management, right? I mean, AI and connected factories, it's very necessary, but it's going to mean immense change in the way workforces work, the processes are thought through, and it's going to mean a lot of change management. And putting effort towards change management is going to be critical. The other thing which I do feel which is very critical is the sponsorship needs to be top down for sure. The
Yeah.
COOs, the CEOs, the manufacturing heads, all of them need to be bought in, and they need to drive this because if it's not, it's very difficult to make some of these changes happen. I also want to mention one thing since I have been in the manufacturing industry for a very long time and I've seen shop floors in close detail is do not ever trivialize the impact of plant directors or plant managers, right? They are critical to be bought in because they run these shop floors and having them convinced on the need for it and what it can actually provide is going to be critical. But when you get all these forces aligned, I think it's very doable and it's going to be a huge harbinger of change.
So I agree 100%. And how do we tailor the AI value story for the workers? What kind of change management playbooks or cultural rituals have you
Yeah.
seen work best that diffuses the skepticism that they might have to build these champions for AI?
Yeah. See, if you see a completely full homogeneous set of plants, right, which are out there, you are different plant directors. Now there will always be some who are more accepting of technologies and AI, and you have to find those beacons of change in your plants, right? I mean, and take some of those plants which are the maximum proof of value and make them the lighthouses, right? And when you make them lighthouses, you want to create a atmosphere which is more of a pull because I've always seen this. Any transformation works when it creates a pull than a push, right? If you try to push people to do something, chances of success erode. But if you create something which is like a shining beacon, and you kind of showcase it in a way in every forum as to how a certain plant is actually changing, transforming, and the value which it is coming, and how the workers are adopting, and how they are, their lives are becoming easier, better. It kind of creates a pull, and everybody wants that. And that kind of an atmosphere, once you create, then it becomes extremely easy. The other 2 points which I want to make sure is, when we are doing AI in manufacturing, I think the focus still needs to be, while there's a lot of ROI in energy management, predictive maintenance, you have to continue focusing on safety, because safety is critical in manufacturing plants, and safety has to remain at least stable, if not become better as these changes come in. The other thing which I do think, and that's where the top-down leadership comes in, is you have to align the incentive structures to the implementation of some of this, because if people are incentivized to making some of these things happen, then the chances of success also go up, rather than them being measured on the same mold, but having to do all of these things as an add-on. I don't know whether that's something which you're also seeing, but that's what I have seen, work in these kind of forums.
No, no, absolutely. I'm seeing the same. I think that's essential to come the changes coming from top down and then incentivizing the workforce to implement those.
One question I wanted to ask, and you can't have an AI discussion without asking this, is the manufacturers, how are they looking to take advantage of agentic AI? This is an incredible opportunity, right? And it's also a very complicated opportunity. So
Mm-hmm.
what are you seeing around this? At what stage do manufacturers need to embrace agentic AI in their modernization journey? And how are you guiding clients in this area?
It's at many different stages. Agentic I feel delivers the most value once a manufacturer, their core systems are modernized enough to support autonomous decision making. But some forward thinking, in fact, clients are building for that from day one. In the US, for example, new greenfield plants, they're being designed as digital first. So highly autonomous factories where agentic AI is essential to orchestrate any of the operations with minimal human interface or input, right? And then regarding the discussion on agentic AI, single agent versus multi-agent, we see that a lot. It really depends on the complexity and the dynamism of the environment and the tasks. So we are typically guiding our clients to start with a single agent focused on high impact tasks, like some examples are predictive scheduling, adaptive quality control, and so on. But as their foundation matures, we help scale to multi-agent ecosystems. So where the agents are collaborating across, health monitoring, inventory, production, all kinds of different functions. And this creates a very well connected, sort of self optimizing environment that handles all the disruption in real time. And it frees the humans to focus on innovations.
Fantastic, fantastic, Vibha. Now, I want to turn our eyes to the future, more than the near future, to the far future, right? What do you think is going to be the next big disruptor that will shape how manufacturers modernize?
Well, this is one of my favorite topics. So, if we look ahead, I think the next big disruptor won't just be digital. It will be the fusion of digital and physical intelligence, physical AI, where the technology will leap towards machines. And then that can function with a level of what I call the cognization and spatial awareness, right? Like that of humans. So not only intelligent and connected, but also fully autonomous. We're seeing a lot of discussion and in some shape and form, even already, humanoids, cobots, edge computing, multi-agent AI systems. I mean, this will all change how factories operate. Even forcing today's modern plants to adapt again. And at the same time, I feel the regulatory, the ethical standards, explainable AI, all this will require modernization to ensure. I think you mentioned this, trust and compliance across the board. So in short, I feel the next disruptor, the disruptor will live at the intersection of advanced autonomy and responsible governance. So it's really reshaping manufacturing for the decade ahead. But as we look out further, I mean, what challenge do you think the next generation of manufacturers will be working on?
Yeah, see, I have recently completed, I think, 3 decades in this manufacturing industry, right? And one thing which I have learned so far is that traditionally manufacturing industry has not been a very fast-moving industry. That's going to change in the future, right? I think the pace of change today is the fastest that it's been so far, but it's also the slowest that it's going to be. So the pace of change is only going to increase, and manufacturing companies need to adapt to it, right? These companies usually are not digitally native, which means that they have a lot of legacy in the back, both in terms of the landscapes, in terms of people, in terms of the culture of learning. And that's where I think the big change is going to happen is manufacturing companies have to be open to pace of change being faster. They need to learn new things. Their workforce needs to be open to learning new things, and that's going to become a differentiator because today we are talking about agentic AI. Tomorrow it's going to be very different.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the potential of additive manufacturing coming in big force, but I do see in the very near future additive manufacturing being very different to what it is today for manufacturers, and how do they adapt to that kind of a change which actually happens, where manufacturers become slightly less of a manufacturer and more of a design company creating print files, right? So all those changes will happen, I think, in the future. Having their workforce, their processes, their landscape, and the thought processes adapt to that change is going to be the differentiator.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been a great discussion, Vibha, and thank you for your insights. And thank you everyone for listening in. Look out for our next episode where we're going to bring in more perspectives in navigating manufacturing in the age of AI. If any of your listeners out there know of a colleague who would find this podcast useful, please do share it. And if you have a topic you'd like to nominate for a future Cognizant podcast, please get in touch with us through the contact information in the description.